Lantern Festival that's coming up, so we'll be making these black sesame rice balls, 黑芝麻汤圆. But I can't really call it the rice balls because it's not made out of rice flour. I'm going to go healthy all the way, so the inside it'll be made out of black sesame, obviously, and it's loaded with calcium. And there'll be no sugar used, hardly any oil, and the outer layer I'm going to use Chinese yam and tapioca starch. So the whole thing just seems healthy, but it's still going to be delicious, so don't worry. Anyway, let's get into it. On medium heat, toast 1 and 1½ cup of sesame seeds on a skillet. Stir continuously for about 2 minutes to prevent from burning. When you hear some of them popping, it means it's getting nice and toasty. Turn off the heat and set it aside and let it cool completely. Now add the sesame seeds into your blender or food processor. Here I'm going to process it on high speed. Process it until it turns into a paste. Give it a stir halfway. You could blend it until it turns smooth and runny, but I had mine blended until smooth but thick. This way it's easier to work around with. You can see that it's pretty thick and it's glossy. Now add a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. By the way, if you want to receive notifications for all my videos, make sure you change the setting from personalized to all after you've subscribed. Otherwise, you'll only get selective ones. Now this is optional, but I'd like to add 2 teaspoons of coconut oil into the sesame paste to enhance the flavor. Mix well and then set it in the fridge to solidify the paste slightly. Now that it's slightly hardened, we will shape them into small balls. Then place them onto a piece of wax paper or parchment paper. Store these sesame balls in the fridge while we work on the ginger dessert soup. Now take a piece of organic ginger and cut a few slices. I like to use organic ginger because it's a lot more potent than the regular ones. Also, the regular ones in Hong Kong are usually soaked with God knows what, so it's better to buy these small organic gingers. Using the flat side of your cleaver or knife, we're going to smash the gingers. So for the soup, we will need a handful of dry Longan fruits, 2 cups of water, 5 pieces of pitted red dates, and a few slices of gingers. Over medium-high heat, we will add the water first and then everything else into the pot. Cover with a lid and bring the water to a boil. Okay, now we're going to turn off the heat and just let the soup sit and let the flavors melt while we work on our Tang Yuan. Now back to the sesame balls. We're going to make the outer layer by cutting up the Chinese yams. If you have to remove the skin, make sure you wear a pair of gloves. I often get allergic reactions from it, and the only way to remediate the itch is by pouring vinegar onto my hands. Then we will steam the Chinese yams for about 20 minutes or until it's cooked through. You can test it by piercing the yam with a pair of knife. If the inside is soft, then it's ready. Using a potato ricer or a fork, smash the yams until smooth. Here I have 300 grams of mashed yams. Gradually add about 50 grams or ½ cup of tapioca starch into it. Mix in one direction while you gradually add the starch. When it's combined, we will use our hands to knead it a little. We want to get a feel of the dough. If it's too wet, then we will have to add more starch. If it's too dry, then we will have to add more water. See, mine is coming together nicely. It looks smooth and it's just a little sticky to the hands. Now we're going to dust our silicone mat and we will fill our dough with the sesame fillings. Take a small piece of the dough and flatten it. Okay, I was wrong. Sorry. It's actually a bit dry. As you can see, it's not coming together and it's falling apart. But no problem. Back to the mixing bowl, we will add a few drops of water at a time and then knead it again until we get a stickier dough. This is great because it's a good demonstration to show you guys what to do if your dough is too dry. Alright, this time it's a bit stickier to the hands and it has absolutely no cracks. Alright, let's try again. Take a piece of your dough and flatten it, but try and keep it in a circular shape. Then add your filling, wrap and seal it with the wrapper. Place the dough in between your hands and gently shape it into a ball. Now I just want to show you guys what to do if your dough is a bit stickier to the hands. It happens when your yam has a lot of moisture. Back to the mixing bowl, this time we will add more starch. I ended up adding a total of 3/4 cups of starch to this batch. This dough is a little stickier than the last batch, but it's totally fine. With a stickier dough, what I will do is I will use 2 pieces of flattened dough and sandwich the filling. And then wrap it together and gently shape it into a ball. If there's excess dough, pinch and remove the extra skin and then shape it into a ball. Okay, I overdid it, so just add a small piece back to the ball and shape it again. Now bring a medium pot of water to a boil. Add in the sesame balls and stir immediately to prevent them from sticking. And when they float, it means they're ready. Then let them cool down completely. Now I'm going to strain the soup, which you can omit this step if you want to eat the fruits. Because I'm in a hurry, I've given them an ice bath to speed up the process. Again, you can omit this step, but it's still important to let them cool down. They're a lot chewier when they're chilled. Okay, it's time to taste test this. I'm very, very excited. I have a couple versions here. The first version with more tapioca starch, and because it was more moist, and then the other one with less tapioca starch. So let's see what's different. It's so good. It's very, very chewy. It's just as chewy as the store-bought ones where it's made of glutinous rice flour. And then the inside is packed with black sesame flavor. And yeah, it's actually more potent than the ones you find from the stores or from the packaged ones because there's no fillers. It's just black sesame. And toasting it really helps too. It really brings out the flavor. It's really nice. And the soup is very good. It's sweet. It's just like the normal ones that you normally make with block cane sugar. There's really no difference. Very good. Now let's try with the one that has less tapioca starch. As expected, it's less chewy, but it's still very good. It's still very good. But I would prefer with more tapioca starch. I like the chew. Overall, I don't taste the Chinese yam. It's not noticeable at all, so that's surprising to me. Overall, I really like it. I'm very happy with this recipe. I would totally recommend it to you guys. It's so healthy. There's no sugar, and you can eat it without feeling any guilt. It's nice. So give it a try. And for those of you who seem to have a problem digesting any products made out of glutinous rice flour or glutinous rice, you may experience a stomach ache after having a mochi, for example. And that's because you have a weaker digestive system. So with all the ingredients used in this recipe, it should be easier on your stomach. The Chinese yam is beneficial for your spleen and your stomach, according to Chinese doctors. And so it will be easier for digestion. And the tapioca starch controls the blood sugar level a lot better than rice flour, according to Google. And it raises the blood sugar level a lot slower than rice or rice flour in general. So yeah, the whole thing is just very healthy and it will be delicious. I'm not sacrificing taste, don't worry. So here are all my findings from my kitchen experiments. If you want your black sesame balls to be chewier, then add more tapioca starch. If you want that oozing effect when you bite it open, then you have to add a little bit more coconut oil, which I would recommend adding a little bit because it does enhance the flavor a little bit with the coconut flavor. It's kind of nice and it makes it smoother too. But if you don't want to add any oil at all, that's totally fine too. It's just not as smooth, but I still find the texture to be quite good and it's still very tasty. And I also suggest skipping making the soup. I don't think it's really necessary because it tastes better when it's colder anyway. Yeah, if you want to skip that step, go for it. I didn't care for it, to be honest with you. It's good, but it just seems like an extra step that I don't find necessary. And if you made extras and have leftovers and you put it in the fridge and you heat it the next day, the texture will be altered. It won't taste as good. It won't be as chewy, but it won't be mushy. It's just not as chewy. So my suggestion is to make just enough for the event and then put the extra dough, wrap it with cling film and then put it in the fridge and do the rest on the following day or in 2 days or whatever. And that way it would still be very good. It wouldn't alter the texture. And I think that's all with all my findings. So that's a wrap for today's episode and also for Chinese New Year. And I'm wishing you guys a fantastic time with your family and friends. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.